All right, let's dive into a topic that's, well, it's pretty fascinating and maybe a little provocative. What does seduction actually mean in the world we live in today, this age of nonstop stimulation?
I mean, really think about that for a second. We're all scrolling, swiping, tapping, just endlessly looking for something, anything, to grab our attention. And yet, that feeling of a real connection, of someone actually seeing you, that feels rarer than ever. We're going to get to the bottom of that.
Okay, so first things first. To even begin to understand modern seduction, you have to understand the world we're all living in. Let's call it the age of distraction. Now this quote, this is so important because it frames the whole problem. This isn't just about our phones being a little bit annoying. It's suggesting something way deeper is going on, that we are actively, desperately running away from those quiet moments where it's just us, alone with our own thoughts. Distraction isn't a bug in the system anymore. It's become a feature, a survival tool.
And this is the system we're all swimming in, whether we realize it or not. The attention economy. Our attention, your attention, has literally been turned into a product. Every single notification, every ping, is perfectly engineered to give you a tiny hit of dopamine. That's the chemical of desire, of wanting more. So we're basically being trained day in and day out to become addicts of novelty, which makes us really vulnerable.
So, if that's the world we're in, how does anyone make a real connection? Well, the first big idea is to completely reframe seduction. It's not a transaction, it's an adventure.
So much of our interaction today feels like it's on that left side, right? It's a transaction. It's a sterile marketplace. You like my post, I'll like yours. But what the source material argues is that real, genuine attraction, that's born from experience. It's about breaking the boring, predictable script of everyday life and creating a shared story, an adventure that makes life feel bigger and more exciting.
And this is a really, really key point. This isn't about just throwing random surprises at someone. That's just more noise, more distraction. No, the real art, the kind mastered by someone like Casanova, is to choreograph the novelty, to introduce moments of surprise and imagination in a way that feels intentional and meaningful.
And that's the whole game right there. For him, the seduction wasn't about the prize at the end, it was about the journey. By treating every person like a world to be discovered, he created this incredible psychological adventure. He made them the hero of their own story. And let me tell you, that is infinitely more powerful than just telling someone they look nice.
But, and this is a huge but, here comes the first critical warning. There is a razor-thin line between being an adventure for someone and just being their newest favorite distraction. If the only thing holding you together is the next thrill, you haven't really built a bond. You've just created an addiction.
Okay, on to the second principle. And this one hits on a really deep, very modern kind of pain. In a world where everyone is performing for this giant, invisible audience, there is a profound, desperate hunger to feel truly and uniquely seen. So let's get super practical. Vague compliments, you're so cool, you're beautiful, that's just more noise. It gets ignored because we hear it all the time. But precision praise, wow, that cuts through everything. When you say something like, I notice how you stay calm when everyone else is freaking out, you're proving something. You're proving that you've actually been paying attention, and that feels like you care. Now, this next idea is a bit of a mind bender, but it's so powerful. The goal isn't to convince someone that you're amazing. The goal is to make them feel amazing about themselves whenever you're around. You become a kind of mirror, reflecting back the best possible version of them, and they fall in love with that reflection you're showing them. And here comes another one of those warnings. You absolutely cannot play the savior. The second you position yourself as the cure for someone's problems, the whole thing turns toxic. You're not there to fix them or fill some void in their life. You're there to be a guide, to remind them of their own depth, a depth they might have forgotten they had. All right, let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle, the theater of masks. Because in a world of constant performance, where everyone is carefully curating their image, you have to understand the masks people wear. So this isn't just some poetic idea. It's a real thing psychologists call impression management. And look, we all do it. We act a little differently around our boss than we do with our best friends, but the source argues that the constant 24/7 audience of modern life has turned this into an exhausting, full-time job. We're all on stage all the time.
Now, this is where it gets really complex. It's a paradox. Think of someone like Cleopatra. She was a master of this. She would put on a mask, play a role, like a goddess or a playful friend, not to trick someone, but to create a kind of safe space, a space where the other person felt comfortable enough to finally take their own mask off. It's a performance designed to get to authenticity.
But the danger here, it's not for the other person. It's for you. Even Casanova himself admitted he felt incredibly lonely at the end of his life. If you get addicted to the performance, to always being whatever someone else needs you to be, you run the very real risk of completely losing touch with who you are underneath it all.
And that brings us to our final and honestly our most important section. Because all of this knowledge, all these techniques, they come with a profound ethical weight. This is where we have to draw a very clear line.
Here's the bottom line, the hard line in the sand. Seduction, the way we're talking about it here, is about awakening something positive in another person. Manipulation is about exploitation, period. It might use some of the same tools, but its goal is always to create dependency and control, not a genuine connection.
And you have to zoom out here, because this is so much bigger than just personal relationships. These exact same principles are being used every single day by advertisers, by politicians, by the algorithms that run our lives. They're all trying to capture our attention on a massive scale. In a way, we're all being seduced, all the time.
So the ethical challenge for us then is to use this understanding not to just add to all that noise, but to do the exact opposite, to use these skills to cut through it, to reawaken sensitivity, and to remind people of the incredible depth and meaning that can be found in real, focused, genuine attention.
And in the end, it really all boils down to this one question. In all of our interactions, anytime we hold someone's attention, what's our real intent? Are we trying to liberate them, to share a sense of wonder and help them see themselves more clearly? Or are we trying to possess them, to capture and own a piece of their attention for ourselves? The answer to that? Well, it defines everything.